Today we're doing the fourth set of notes and we're going to be talking about factoring today. So first thing we're going to discuss is GCF, and GCF stands for greatest common factor. So we are always taking out the greatest term that they both have in common. Sometimes it's a variable, sometimes it's a numerical value. It all just depends. You just have to look at the problem. So for my first one, my GCF, I'm just going to kind of make a note right here, is x. They both have an x in common. So when they both have an x in common, actually I'm going to rewrite it over here so I have more room. So my GCF is x. And when they both have the x in common, or whatever the GCF is, you're going to put it out front. And if you need a little visual, what I'm doing right now is I'm essentially dividing both terms by x. So if I were to divide both terms by x, take an x out, I'm left with x plus 7. If I ever wanted to check to see if I was correct, I could just distribute this back in, and I should get right back where I started. So it's a nice way to check your work. Letter B, my GCF, is going to be a numerical value, and this time they're both divisible by 2. So that's my GCF. And again, if I need a little visual, I'm dividing both of these terms by 2. When I do that, I'm left with x plus 5. For letter C, my GCF is going to be 3x, so sometimes it's a number and a variable. And again, dividing them both by 3x, I'm left with x minus 3. And letter D, whenever the first term is negative, you always want to take out the negative with it. So for this one, I'm taking out the negative 4. And when I divide that out, I'm left with x minus 4. So that's a skill that we're going to talk about today, regardless of which method you choose. So just like when I showed you multiplying, I'm going to show you 2 methods for factoring, and you decide which method you like. Everyone's first step is the same, and that is to multiply A and C. And then you're going to find the factors that add to B. Everybody's first method is the same, and that is the most important method. Whatever combination you pick, if you like the box method, you're going to put that there. That little line would represent like a number. It's going to go in that spot. For my grouping people, same thing. You're going to have your combination that goes there, and then you group the first 2 terms. I'm going to kind of just go right into the examples, and I'll show you both methods. You don't need to write both down. You can just watch and then pause the video and copy down the method that you like. So, like I said, everyone's first step, though, is the same, and that is to multiply A and C together. So I'm going to multiply A and C, and I'm going to write that off to the side. This number of 6 will not appear in the problem anywhere. It's just simply used to obtain the combination. So my factors of 6 are 1 and 6, a 2, 3. I'm not going to write 3, 2 because that's the same thing. But I could write negative 2, negative 3, and a negative 1, negative 6. Now, do I have to do that every single time? No. You can just kind of write down the combination that you need to use. We're looking for the one that adds to my middle term of 7. And the combination that's going to work right here is going to be the 1 and the 6. So I'm going to do the grouping method first. For my grouping method, you're going to write 4 terms. So the 3x squared is coming from the first term. Instead of 7x, I'm going to write 1x and 6x. And no, you don't really have to write 1x. You could just say x. And then I'm going to write the 2 for my last term. Okay, and now I'm going to group the first 2 terms, and I group the second 2 terms. And now it becomes like that skill that we just practiced on the front page where I take out my GCF. So my first term, I'm going to take out an x. If I take the x out, I'm dividing it both by x, I'm left with x plus 1. My second quantity, I can take out a 2, and when I take the 2 out, I'm left again with x plus 1. And now x plus 1 is going to become like our GCF, so I'm going to take that out. So I now have x plus 1 here, and then the other binomial is going to be made up of the leftovers. So the x and the 2 that's on the outside is going to make up your second quantity, and that is the answer. You know what? I goofed. I am totally sorry. Let's fix that. When I took out the x up here, this should have been a 3x. And when I took out the 2 up here, that should have been a 3x. So let's fix that. So this should say 3x plus 1. Thanks for bearing with me. Hopefully you were screaming at the screen. For those of you who do the box method, you're going to write your 4 terms inside the box. So my 4 terms again are 3x squared. The 2 goes in the bottom right, and then the x and the 6x go in the combination. So you have the same 4 terms as the groupers. It's just the way we organize it. So now I'm going to find the outside. So to find the outside, again, I kind of look at it and say, well, what do they have in common? So for the first one, I'm comparing the 3x squared and the x, and they have an x in common. Now I'm going to look at that spot right there. That 3x squared and a 6x has a 3x in common. This spot right here, x and a 2, has a 1 in common. And now this spot down here, 6x and a 2, has a 2 in common. And now my answer is just located on the outside. So x plus 2 and a 3x plus 1 is my answer. Notice I wrote them opposite. That's okay. Multiplication is commutative. So let's try letter B. Again, everybody's first step is to multiply A and C. So I have 4 and 4 times 9, which is going to be 36. This should have been a -9. I'm really sorry, guys. Get my act together. I swear I will. All right, so fixing that, this is a -36 now. That'll work a little bit better. So I could write every single combination down, but I'm just going to take a moment and think. The combination that's going to work here is -18 and a +2. That multiplies to be -36, and that adds to be the -16 that I needed it to add to. So I'm going to set both methods up. So I'm going to draw the box method first, and the 4 terms I'm putting inside are a 4x squared, the -9 goes in the bottom, that's my C term, and then now I have the -18x and the 2x on the diagonal. My groupers, you're going to write the same 4 terms. Okay, and now we're going to find the outside of the box, or if you're grouping, you're going to group the first 2, group the second 2. So for my groupers, when I'm looking at this, again, I'm looking at those 2 right there first. So I have a 4x squared and a -18x. And the greatest GCF that they have in common is going to be 2x. Then I'm going to look this way. A 4x squared and a 2x, the greatest GCF they have is a 2x. Now I'm going to go over here. I have a -18x and a -9. And again, my largest GCF for that would be -9. And this bottom one, I have a 2x and a -9. Only thing I can take out of that quantity is a 1. So I get 2x plus 1 and a 2x minus 9. Now, some of you might be saying that you really don't like the box method. That's fine. Then you need to try the grouping method. So my grouping method, I'm going to look at these first 2 terms and I decide what I can take out. The GCF that I can take out is a 2x. And when I take the 2x out, I'm left with 2x minus 9. Then I look at my second quantity over here, which is 2x minus 9. And the GCF I can take out of that is a 1. And it is important that you write the 1 even though it only is 1. Then from here, the 2x minus 9 is like your GCF, so I'm taking that out, and I write one of them. And then the other quantity is coming from the leftovers, the stuff that's on the outside, which is 2x and plus 1. And that is your answer. So again, you only need to copy down one way, decide which way you kind of like, and stick with it. For the next 3 examples, I'm only going to do one method each. You try the method that you like. So for letter C, it's implied that there's a 1 there, so I'm going to do A times C, which is 6. The combination I'm going to use is 3 and 2, and that's the most important part. So I'm going to go ahead and do the grouping method for this one. So I have 3x plus 2x plus 6. Those of you who like the box method, draw your box. These are the 4 terms that go on the inside of the box. And I'm going to group the first 2 terms. I group the second 2 terms. My GCF for that first quantity would be x, and I'm left with an x plus 3. My GCF for the second term is a 2. And again, I'm left with x plus 3. And that's good. They match. That's what needs to happen. If it's not happening, you made a mistake. And I get x plus 3 and an x plus 2. Letter D, I will do the box method. Okay, so again, it's implied that there's a 1 there. So I have 1 times 8, which is 8. I need to find something that multiplies to be 8 and adds to be negative 6. So that's going to be a negative 4 and a negative 2. So drawing my 2 by 2 box, I'm putting the 4 terms in the box. Notice that that 8 that we wrote over there, well, actually this time it does appear, but this number does not always appear in the box. It depends. This time it did work out that way. And now I find the outside. So the top row, x squared and negative 4x, has an x in common. Right here, x squared and a negative 2x has an x in common. Over here, negative 4x and an 8 has a negative 4. And down here, this has a negative 2 in common. So I get x minus 4 and x minus 2. Lastly, letter E. Again, I'm going to start by doing a times c, which is negative 9. My combination that I need to use is a 9 and a negative 1. So that multiplies to be negative 9, adds to be the 8 that I need. I'll do the grouping method again. Those of you who do the box, draw the box, put these 4 terms inside the box. I group. First quantity I can take out an x. Second quantity I can take out a negative 1. And it's going to factor to be x plus 9 and an x minus 1. So go ahead and hit pause. You have 6 practice problems to try, so go ahead and try those and hit resume when you're ready for the next set of examples. So here the directions say find the zeros, roots, x-intercepts of the function. You're also going to notice that I've now introduced an equal sign. So we have one extra step to do at the very end of things, but the first step is still a factor, so I'm still going to do a times c, which is negative 12. The combination that I need to use is a negative 4 and a positive 3. I'm going to do the box method this time, so I'm going to draw my box. I'm going to put my 4 terms in the box. So I have 3x squared, a negative 4x, a 3x, and a negative 4. And now we're going to go around and find the outside. So for this spot right here, I can take out a 3x. Comparing those 2 terms, the only thing they have in common is an x. Over here, the 2 terms that they have in common is negative 4. And that bottom set of numbers, 3x and negative 4, they only have a 1. So now I factored it, and I get x plus 1 and an 3x minus 4. But because there's an equal sign, this implies we need to go one step further. The directions say find the zeros. So what we're going to do is we're going to take both of these binomials that we got and set them equal to 0. So for this one, I'm going to subtract 1. So one of the answers I get is negative 1. For the other one, I'm going to add 4 over. And now I need to divide both sides by 3. And the second answer I get is 4 over 3. So whenever you see an equal sign, you are going to set both binomials equal to 0, and then you solve for x. And that's all for today. We're going to pause there.